The Dub Jellison podcast is presented by Indy Lumberjack. They proudly offer reasonable rates, safe, top quality, courteous, efficient service. Let Indy Lumberjack help you reach your goal of maintaining beautiful and safe trees. They're by far the best in the business. You can get a free quote on indylumberjack.com or email indylumberjack@gmail.com for inquiries. Again, get a free quote on indylumberjack.com. What's up, everyone? We're back with another episode of Dub Jellison Podcast, and today I have a very special guest, UFC Bantamweight, Adrian Yanez. Adrian, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm just ready. It's fight week, and I'm just ready to go, man. Super ready.
Yeah, man, it is fight week. Kind of crazy. You've had a quick turnaround from the Contender Series. How are you feeling leading up to the fight? How are your nerves and your anxiety going?
Man, I'm just excited, honestly. Not really nervous or anything like that because, like, this to me isn't as big as of a fight than my fight in the Contender Series, because the Contender Series, you only had one shot to get into the UFC, and if you didn't, and also if they didn't like you or anything, like if they didn't like the way you fought or anything like that, you weren't getting picked. So that was more nerve-wracking because it was almost like going in for an audition. Now I got the role, so it's one of those, I just got to go out there and perform. But super excited, man. Just really, really super excited. The biggest thing for me is just going in there and just staying calm, staying relaxed, and picking my shots. But man, it's a little bit still. Also, there's a little bit of surrealness for me because, man, like, this is Anderson Silva's last fight. So for me, there is that realm of like, this is pretty big, but I'm not making it out to be like the biggest thing in the world for me. It's another fight. But the biggest part is that I'm gonna be a part of history with this being Anderson Silva's retirement fight, and this is me making my debut.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I noticed when I was doing a little bit of research was you're fighting on the same card as Anderson's last fight, and 5 years prior to this, you fought on Royce Gracie's final fight in Bellator. So how kind of crazy is that? Had you realized that yet?
Oh no, actually, I didn't even think about that. Honestly, I was just still taken by the moment because I remember that during that time there's a lot of stuff going on, but also I was able to fight on matter of fact I was able to fight on the same night Kimbo Slice fought. Kimbo Slice, Dada 5000. Even though that fight wasn't that crazy, it was like it was a spectacle, but it was pretty cool. Then also Royce Gracie and one of the Shamrocks, I forget which one, but it was cool just to be a part of that whole. Like, yeah, it was pretty cool to be a part of that experience. But man, especially at that time, I really didn't think about that. And this time, even though it's like more in the forefront of like it being like UFC history, like the middleweight GOAT is finally retiring. It's pretty cool. It's super cool just to be a part of history. I'm really excited making my debut that same day. So it's all correlating for me, man. It feels like I should be fighting it because I idolized Anderson Silva for the longest time. Like he pretty much was your fighter's favorite fighter's fighter. That's like, so it's cool. It's real just to be a part of history.
Yeah. For me, like I didn't really get into MMA until it was UFC 232. It was actually the first one that I really that made me fall in love with the sport. And I mean, even back when I was like 8, 9 years old, the only name I remember is Anderson Silva. That's how much of an impact that he's had. And I mean, he's like the OG GOAT, I think, in my opinion, because like he's the one that really changed the game. But I don't know. Are there any other fighters that you kind of looked up to and kind of idolize or try to emulate now?
Man, person who I like idolized and looked up to for the longest time was Cain Velasquez. He, man, like, just the way he was, man, just like almost like Anderson Silva, like not in the same as fight wise, but both of them, they were quiet and they were reserved. But whenever they got into the cage, Like Kane would turn into a monster. He wanted to go in there and just fight you for 5 rounds, beat you up, just totally just dominate. And Anderson Silva was quiet until you got in the cage and you did something spectacular. So more of the same, you know. So I really love those type of fighters that don't have to say a word, but they just go in there and just dominate. So I've always kind of idolized them too. And another guy, Jose Aldo, saying another guy didn't talk, just went in there and just wanted to go out there and just beat the crap out of somebody. You know, it's those type of guys. And then also, I've always idolized like someone like Dominic Cruz, who would go in there. Anybody who could kind of change the game up. You know, Anderson Silva was the type of guy that changed the game. Cain Velasquez for heavyweights at the time pretty much changed the game for heavyweights. Everybody thought the bigger heavyweights were the way to go, but he changed that fact. Jose Aldo was pretty dynamic for someone his size, very explosive. Showed that the lighter weights can be fun to watch. And Dominic Cruz, just with his style, you know, he might talk, you know, just talk mess, but it's all mental warfare for him, you know.
Yeah.
So he's in and out, especially with his footwork and his herky-jerky style. So anybody who's been changing the game, I kind of somewhat idolize, because, man, like, to change to go in there and like fight, and then the way you fight changes how other fighters approach it. This, to me, is genius and is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I know from what I know about you, you're kind of quiet and reserved, kind of like how you mentioned with Kane and Anderson. Do you think that you'll have to change that? Obviously, Conor McGregor changed the game where he kind of, I mean, not made it so you need to trash talk, but if you do trash talk, you're more marketable and things of that nature. Do you feel like you'll have to change that at any point?
Nah, man, not at all. I feel like a lot of people will love me for me. You know, I'm gonna be 100% transparent with everybody. Man, I'll tell you when I'm having a good day. I'm gonna tell you when I'm having a bad day. Man, let's just say like a fighter is getting under my skin, or just starts, like, if he talks mess to me, I'm gonna talk mess back. Like that's the type of person I am. Like, you're not gonna push me and expect not to get punched in the mouth, you know. So it's one of those things for me. But until then, man, like, if the guy, like the fighter I'm fighting is a real cool guy, man, I'm not gonna sit there and try to talk trash to him and just try to make something out of nothing. I'm gonna go out there and, you know, be cordial the whole entire time until we step in the cage. That's when we can go out there and disrespect each other. You go in there and punch each other in the face, talk whatever mess. And then once that fight's over with, you know, if they want to hold animosity still or whatever, or after the fight, that's completely up to them. Me, I usually just let it go. But honestly, man, I don't feel like I'll need to talk trash. I feel like people will want to see me fight because they love the way I fight. They would love the skills, because no matter who's in front of me, I'm aiming to go in there and knock people out. So Cowboy Cerrone never really had to talk trash. He just went in there and fought, and people love him. And that's what I want to do. I kind of want to do like the Cowboy Cerrone fight, like fight like Cowboy Cerrone, like not saying anything really too much. If someone provokes me, he shoots back, and then go in and fight. And I just want to also, with the activity, just go in there and just keep fighting too. So yeah, there's a lot of things going into it, man. But just being 100% transparent, and then also, man, if you're gonna push me, expect to punch back.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever had to deal with anyone talking trash on, like, I know you're in LFA for a while. Did anyone there kind of talk trash?
No one really talked trash. Not at all. The most who probably talked trash was, I guess at the time, was I don't even consider it talking trash, but it was like when we faced off, you know, he was very respectable, but, you know, he's just kind of like, he didn't talk trash. It was just more like, this is my time, and all this stuff. And it was like, you'll get your time. It was like Miles Johns. It wasn't really trash talk. It was the most, like, it was weird. It felt sincere too. I was just like, but I couldn't help but laugh at the time. I really couldn't help but laugh. And I just like, I'm going in there and knock your head off, you know. But that fight went the way it did. But the one person uh, my Bellator fight, whenever I fought in Bellator, before the fight, everything cool. Years later, like we're friends on Facebook, and I'll see him post something like a picture of me getting elbowed in the face by him, and I'm like, okay. But then like it's just small little things that he'll just start talking mess about fighters he fought being in the UFC and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, whatever, get over it, man. Like, there's little stuff like that, little stuff like that. But no one has really talked trash. No one's really talked trash. Everybody's been friendly, and I've been like, shoot, I don't care, either way. Because if you talk trash, you gotta step in the cage. Yeah. If you don't want to talk trash, you're still stepping in the cage. So I don't really care.
One thing I thought was funny, I remember when DC knocked out Stipe would post all these pictures of him hitting DC in the face, and DC was like, "I knocked you out. What are you doing? What are we doing?" But so I kind of understand that. So walk me through this process of fight week. I know obviously we're in the midst of this whole COVID-19 pandemic, and things are kind of different. What was fight week like during the Contender Series, and is it same or a little bit different than what it'll look like this week?
And I think it's just a little bit more different because we gotta do a lot more promo during the week and everything. There's just a little bit more things that go on, and then also I get access to the UFC PI. So I'm ready to go out there. It's another exciting thing for me because whenever I was in the Contenders, I didn't get to go to the PI. Mm-hmm. So this time around, I do. So I'm pretty excited about that. But everything's more the same. I still got to stay on a diet. That's pretty much it. Like, just go on a diet. Watch my water intake. Watch what foods, like pretty much everything that goes into weight cutting. But the UFC is making it a lot easier. They're handling a lot of my food and everything. So it's really, really cool, man. It was super cool. Like, they've been more hands-on this time than it was for the Contender Series, because the Contender Series, you're not in the UFC yet. You're working to be into there. So you don't have all the stuff that the UFC would allow you to use, like the I guess like the trifecta and all that, or at least in my experience, I didn't have any of that. Mm-hmm. But I like this time around, it feels a lot more controlled, a lot more easier, a lot more fluid. Don't have to worry about anything. Contenders, it was just pretty much just like COVID test after COVID test after COVID test. So before we even got on the flight, we took a COVID test. Once we landed, we took a COVID test. And then once we weighed in, we got a COVID test. So yeah, got COVID test like 3 times. So this time around, I've already gotten a COVID test. And now once I fly out tomorrow, I'll get another COVID test. And then once we weigh in, I'll probably get another COVID test. But man, this is I don't know, man. I'm just ready to be out there, man. I'm just thinking about it. I was like, man, I want to go. I want to leave already.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. So it's safe to say you haven't gotten COVID yet?
Nah, man. I've had like I flew out when I flew out for the promo shoot. That was 3 tests, and then I flew out again later. Actually, no. I actually had 2. I had 2 tests that because someone that I was around actually ended up catching COVID. I took 2 tests negative. Then I went in the UFC before I left. I took 2 tests, so it's 4. And then for the Contenders, I took 3, so that's 7. Then I took another one whenever I flew out. For Jacob Silva's fight, and that was 13. And then I just took a COVID test, so it's 14. And now I'm taking 2 more. One tomorrow whenever I land in Vegas, and one before weigh-ins. So yeah, it's about like 14, 15. Like, yeah, like tests that I'll be taking. All of them seem negative, man. All of them are negative.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten tested 15 times. I had to get it for work over the summer, but I mean, it's kind of a pain. But I ended up catching COVID. Actually, living in
Ah,
Florida, it's kind of inevitable, but
yeah.
it is what it is. So when your past opponent, when he fell out of the fight, I thought that it might have been COVID, but it looks like it was an injury. So talk about getting a new opponent, Victor Rodriguez, and how you're planning to approach that, kind of like the last second change.
Man, I've had like a lot of last second fights like fall out, man. A lot of people think that like I've been pulled out of fights. I remember right after uh like I got signed to Contender Series. I remember seeing somebody post somebody post like, man, this guy has as many canceled bouts as he does fights. Like, good job, UFC. You signed a real good one. I was like, that's not me. That's the other people. It's like it's like, do you even look at the dates and everything? It's not like most of those guys that fought like a Trent Moe and the Nathan guy, uh like those were short notice replacements. A lot of those guys before too were short notice replacements. Like, so it's always been one of those like it's not me. It's not me getting injured. It's people falling out. So that's why I got so many like if you look at the Tapology, so many canceled bouts. A couple of them were due to injury from my side, but I guess like if you look at it, if you see how many people pulled out on for me, like it's countless. It's like it outweighs the ones where I was actually injured. So yeah, like honestly, I'm more of just looking at this like, all right, dude, I've experienced this before so many times. Like, I know what I got to do. It's like, anyways, the way I've been preparing is I'm not preparing for the other fighter. I'm preparing for myself because I'm working on what I want to get good at, and I'm like honing my own skills, working on my own weaknesses as well. So, man, Victor, seeing somebody else and stuff on the other side of the case to me doesn't really even matter. Once I break into the top 15, top 10, that's whenever I'll start fighting, like honing and start actually putting down a game plan. But as of right now, man, it really doesn't matter. I've already had so many opponent switches that to me this to me is like just like, whatever. It's like I got another fight. I saw a little bit of his last fight earlier this year, and man, I see a lot of opportunities where I can capitalize. There's a lot of opportunity for me, and then especially the way I like to be is I like to pressure and come forward and counter as well. And then also, like, I sit back for a minute or two, wait to see what openings are, and I'm pretty sure there's gonna be openings galore because I saw his last fight, and he tried to push the pace, and while he was trying to push the pace and seeing him try to throw his hands and throw his kicks, man, I saw a lot of openings. And if he comes the same way against me like he did this last guy, he ain't getting out the first round, man. I see in around the 2-minute mark him getting stopped, because like me, I'm very calculated on what I do, and I got crisp, sharp hands, and I like to place everything, so I'm ready.
So first round KO prediction there.
Oh yeah, 100%. And plus I want the 50 G's, man. I want that extra 50. I want the extra 50, man. I got, dude, I got a lot of things going on, man. Christmas is coming up. My birthday is right around the corner, so I'm ready, man. I had 50 G's to make my whole year.
Yeah, that'd be super dope. So how have you kind of been navigating this camp? Like we've mentioned, we're in the COVID-19 pandemic. How's that impacted your camp? And has your camp been any different than it normally has, given that you're going into the UFC, this is your first fight in the UFC and not one of the more regional promotions?
Man, my camp has been just like we kind of stick with the core group of guys anyways. We usually have fighters, and we have a fighter group. We never really try to stray too far away from those people anyways. And like it's just one of those things that we don't like to branch out, especially during these times. We don't want to branch out. We don't want somebody to come in and then give one of us a COVID and then somebody's out for a couple weeks, you know. And then also at the same time, Texas is actually starting to open up with combative sports. So we're gonna have guys fighting here pretty soon, possibly November, December. So the fights are gonna be going on. So we have to keep them safe as well with COVID. So like not only am I have to worry about it, but we have other fighters having to worry about it. And then Jacob Silva, he got back November 14th, going back and fighting on the Contender Series. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very picky with who we choose, who to train with. Nobody from the outside is really coming in anyways, just because like we just tell them no right off the bat. We've turned away a couple of fighters who wanted to come train with us, not because we don't want to work with them, but also because like we don't know what you're bringing into the gym, as in like COVID. Like we don't know where you've been with, at least with everybody that in our group. We're in a group message. We're on messages on our phones, Facebook and Instagram. We're all like keeping in contact with everybody, so we know when somebody catches something or somebody got something. Like we just recently had somebody, one of his buddies tested positive, but he tested negative. He was around him, but he tested negative for it, but he's still doing his due diligence and staying away from us for 2 weeks. So we've kept it close straps, and you know, we're just taking every single precaution because these are big fights that are coming up, and you know we can't afford to miss out on it. And then also, man, the camp has really honestly been more of the same. We haven't really changed everything up, because once you start changing, you don't change what's not broken. You know, you just start adding little things here and there. Because if you start going out there and just trying to be a power lifter, you know, and you try to go in there and fight, you're gonna get exhausted. So we just keep everything the same. Just start adding little things here and there. Not too big of changes, but the bigger changes come out of camp. But in camp, we just fine tune just a little thing and add like just a little couple techniques here and there we think would work.
Mm-hmm. And so how I was introduced to you obviously was your knockout on the Contender Series. That was honestly insane. But talk about that experience on the Contender Series, and does it kind of make things less stressful for you now? Because I know your opponent, I don't think he's been on the Contender Series, but I mean, like he's stepping into the UFC, and you've already had like kind of a little taste of that.
Yeah, man. I feel like I said earlier, man. Like I feel like the Contender Series, it's more of an audition. They see whether they like you or not. So it's a little bit more stressful. You're going in there, you're trying to impress. You know, I kind of had a little doubt in my head, like, man, what if they don't like me? What if they what if they don't like how I fight or anything like that? So it's kind of been, it was really stressful for me at that point. Now that I'm in, it's just more I got to work. I feel like that is an advantage over me because I've already fought in front of Dana White, Mick Maynard, and Sean Shelby. All right, fighting in front of the bosses, man, like it's really big. Like it's really, really big, and especially now that I'm in the UFC, I just feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders of stress, or like just a little bit of like, how can you say, pretty much the stress, man. It relieves stress because you're not fighting for that one thing. You already have it, and I just go out there and just fight and perform. You're taking one thing less off the plate, and just get to focus on that. And him, he hasn't fought in any big shows. He's fought in Alaska. I don't know how big that is over there, but
Not very
I'm looking at, yeah. Like I'm looking at it and I'm just like, he's gonna once he comes to Vegas, I think it's all gonna strike him and hit him pretty hard. And I'm looking at it and I'm liking it, but also I feel like he's gonna want to come and try to make a statement anyways, which if he comes in trying to make a statement, the adrenaline rush is gonna get to him. This is the biggest stage he's ever been on. He's gonna go out there and blow his wad, and then he's gonna be tired in the first round. Like I said, at the 2-minute mark. he's done.
Uh-huh.
I finish him.
Yeah, I can really appreciate how you're talking about the stress that led up to the Contender Series fight. My good friend Jordan Williams, I don't know if you know who that is. He's a UFC middleweight. I mean, he was on his third try on the Contender Series, and when I was talking to him leading up to that fight, yeah, I could tell that he was so stressed out. And then leading up to his UFC debut, he ended up losing that fight, but he wasn't near as stressed.
Yeah. Actually, we did promo together. He was there. He was working on he was doing like the tire, the slam. He's doing the slams on the tire.
Oh yeah.
Like we were there at the same time, so it was pretty cool talking to him, man. He's a good guy. And then also, I think we're managed by the same management under Iridium Sports. So he's a really good guy. But yeah, again, man, just stressful, man, because you're like that guy went in there and was like three times. The first two times, like I can just imagine it being a third time. Like, dude, this is my third freaking chance. I have to make it. What the heck, man? What's going on? And so for two fights, man, he had that stress, and that third one he had to relive that stress. You know, I didn't have it as bad with coming on like, oh, this is my second chance, or my third shot. You know, so for me, I'm looking at it and I'm just like I got over it. That stress is relieved. Now it's just more like I get to fight. It's like I don't have to worry about finishing. I don't have to worry about like submissions. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, you just still fight. So I look at it as more like it's back to normal for me, but also about 70, like above 70% finishing rate on my end. So highly likely that I'm gonna finish Victor Rodriguez anyways.
Mm-hmm. And then going back to the actual fight itself, I mean, you knocked that boy out cold. He was out on his feet. Talk me through what was going through your mind right when the ref stepped in and you kind of realized that you're probably going to get that contract.
Man, as soon as he stepped in, and like I just knew I secured my contract. Like I was looking at the fights before, and like I was in the back watching them while I was getting ready and warming up. Honestly, like I was looking and they were all going to decisions. Like a lot of them were going to decisions and I was just looking. I was like, man, this might be the one. Like if like right after, as soon as I finished Brady, I looked and I was looking around. I was like, holy crap, man! I think I just did it. Like I think I secured my contract. I really think I secured my contract. It just like hit me. I was walking around like for a second it didn't hit me. Then out of nowhere, then it was like, holy shit, I did this. Like fuck. But so yeah, man, it was just more like, man, this felt amazing just to get all of that out. It felt amazing.
And then I remember when Dana was reading off the like he was going through the fighters. He said he pretty much said, yeah, you're in, and you kind of stood there for a second. You're like, am I in? Am I in? Really hard, but obviously after that, it was well documented how you did it in honor of your father, and I want to touch on that just briefly. What does it mean to you to do that in his honor and to bring that contract to him?
Man, it was a lot, man. It meant a lot to me. Like it's one of those things for me that like I've made so many goals and so many promises. Like I promised to receive like a belt. I wanted to win a title, man. I wanted to win a title and win it for my dad. I didn't come through on that, man. So that to me like still hurts me, and like it's still kind of like it still bothers me. You know, it's especially with like how everything was going on, man. Like I failed at some of my biggest, like at the biggest turns in my life. You know, like whenever I fought Domingo, you know, I was like, I was for sure. I was like, I'm gonna get onto the UFC or I'm gonna get a title shot. This would be perfect. or like whenever I fought Miles Johns, I was gonna do, it was pretty much a 2-for-1. I was gonna get the belt and get to be able to take it to my dad and get to the UFC. So it was just a lot of mixtures, like, and for me not to come through on a lot of those, promises and a lot of those goals, like after, like, so once I got that contract, man, it helped me feel better knowing that I came through on the promise. Like, it still bugs the living crap out of me that I didn't finish my other 2 goals, or my other the other goals I set out, or promises that I wanted to keep. So, I still get to go out there and try to keep a promise and get that UFC gold, but the contract was a really good one, just because I felt really, really good in being able to keep that promise, man. Because, man, dude, it sucks, man. It sucks not being able to keep a promise. It sucks not being able to do what you set out to do, man. So I failed a lot of times in my career. So when this fight came around and I was able to pass it with flying colors and able to take the contract to my dad, it felt really good, man. It felt right.
Mm-hmm. And your dad was the one that got you into fighting. So talk about how you kind of evolved from your first fight up until now. What's that growth been like?
Man, like, I was actually a straight jiu-jitsu guy. My first, like, even though my dad was a boxer growing up and all that, he showed us a little bit of hands and everything. And like, every once in a while, my dad was a hard worker. So, like, he was either tired whenever he came to the house, or on the weekends he would show us a little bit, while we're trying to work out. But honestly, my first gym was a jiu-jitsu gym, and they had striking, but they shut that off like almost like 2 months into me joining. So I stuck strictly with jiu-jitsu. In my first fight, I was like 4-stripe blue, and I barely knew how to throw a punch, other than from the couple weekends, or like once a month, that my dad would show us some boxing. So yeah, like, I just went in there straight jiu-jitsu guy, and I went in there, took him down, beat him up. Now transitioning to later on, now, like, I'm a phenomenal striker, and everybody forgets that I started off in jiu-jitsu. So it's one of those things. It's weird, a lot of people are like, "Oh, this guy's just a striker." It's like, well, no, not necessarily. I started off as a BJJ guy. I still do BJJ. Like, don't think I haven't forgot about that, man. I've been steadily improving, man, and I'm hoping to get my black belt soon. I've been having my brown belt since 2016, man, and I think the only reason why I haven't got promoted is because I've always been in a fight camp. I've never really, I've never really put on the gi as much, especially because I've been focusing just strictly on fighting. So I think that's a big reason why I haven't gotten ranked up, So hopefully something happens soon, man. I'll post about it. But yeah, man, like, it's super crazy going from just an average blue belt, 4-stripe blue belt, all the way to being known for knockouts and striking. So it's pretty cool, the evolution, not just a ground guy, not just a stand-up guy. I'm a pretty well-rounded.
Was there a moment that you realized, like, hey, this could actually be a career where I make a lot of money, and things of that nature? Did you have a moment of kind of realization?
Man, I had never had the realization of being a how can I say it, a fighter, like a professional fighter. Like, I always knew I wanted to do something with jiu-jitsu, MMA, just in general. Because at the end of this, I do want to be a coach. Like, I do want to coach, and I do want to, I want to stick with the sport for as long as I can. Whether that be like announcing, not announcing, but like commentating, or just podcasting, doing something. I always wanted to be something within fighting, because I just love the sport. I just have like a genuine love of this sport. So I've always wanted to be a part of it. But like I knew what I wanted to do whenever I was like it was like my senior year, and I already had my first amateur fight. I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, whether it's fighting or just coaching. So to me, like I've always wanted to be a part of it. The fact that I've had a goal, I wanted to be a professional fighter, and then after that, once I was a professional, I started noticing like, hey, I'm like really good at this. I'm gonna keep going. I set goals and goals and goals, and to the point where like it was a dream at the beginning. It really was a dream just to be in the UFC. And to me, a lot of times I felt like it was a pipe dream. All up until like a couple years ago, I knocked it out of my head and started being like, no, dude, you're good enough to be there. You're good enough to be there and go. You just need to go out there and just prove it to yourself. And lo and behold, here I am. I do want to be out there and fight for a living, but I had to convince myself at the time, not convince myself, but like kind of stop doubting myself. And that's where a lot of like my ups and downs in my career came, was from me doubting myself. And I'm not doubting myself anymore, man. I'm committing 100% to it, man. Like I just like me, like I don't have a job anymore, man. I'm just strictly MMA now, man. Fight week, last week was my last week at my job, so now as of today, I felt weird not waking up and going to work. So yeah, committed straight, 100% committed to being a 100% trained fighter, and then also coaching on the side, doing that, having it a part of my life,
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing that you kind of touched on was maybe getting into podcasting. I think you should. I think everyone should have a podcast. Well, not everyone, but like if you're interested in it, I think you should do it. What was your job?
Man, I was pretty much the guy that would turn everybody's water off when you didn't pay your bill. I was that guy. So the beginning of the month was a lot of hard work. The only hard day on the second half of the month was the day you had to cut people off. And to me, I hated those days. I absolutely hated those days, man, because, man, it's just like you get the mixture. You get the full range of emotions from people. Some people will be like, oh, man, I'll go pay it right now, man. My bad. I'm sorry for having you come out here and everything. Some people will come out crying, be like, oh, man, I'm in a bad spot. Man, can you help me out? And at the time, times, man, dude, you kind of had to be the bad guy, man. Like, you hated it to do it because, you got to take care of your family, and also like if like I could have got fired for a lot of that stuff. Like, hey, like I have to do this or I'll lose my job, and they would understand, but it still hurts. It would still hurt, man, because they're in a tough spot. But then also, I wouldn't feel bad for cutting the people off that were real jerks. Like I remember one time a guy ran out and was like ran out and he had his fist balled up ready to fight, and I was in. And this guy was a problematic guy. He's already a problematic guy. He's been on the list he's a repeat offender, pretty much a repeat offender. And every single time we had to go out with somebody else, we had to take somebody else. But this is the one time he came out by himself. Like I came out and I was by myself. This one time I would have been okay to lose my job if this guy would have pushed me or anything. I would have punched this guy. I definitely would have punched this guy. I know we're all in different spots of life, man, but definitely, man, I definitely would have punched that guy in the face. He's a real jerk.
He would have made a bad decision if he wanted to fight with you, I would say.
Yeah.
So we're about out of time on the meeting, but before I let you go, I want to get your prediction on the Bantamweight title fight here coming up in December, I believe, between Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling. How do you think that fight plays out?
Dude, man, that's a hard one to call, man, because I have doubted. Like, I remember when he fought. I remember whenever Aljamain Sterling fought Brian Caraway. Even though he lost that fight, I called this as like that guy is a dark horse in the division. He's gonna get better, and this guy's gonna be a problem. He's gonna be a problem. I said it way back in the day, whenever I was an amateur. He was pro and fighting all those guys. I called it and said, this guy is going to be world champ. So I'm going to keep that decision. I'm going to keep that saying, you know, because I said he was going to be a champ whenever I was first started fighting. I think he beats Petr Yan. It's not going to be an easy task because Petr Yan is a freaking stud, dude. That guy doesn't quit. He doesn't fold. No, nothing. He has that Russian mentality of I'm gonna break you, almost like the Ivan Drago. I must break you. That type of deal. And I feel like this one. You know, Aljamain Sterling. I think he's gonna surprise us once again because I didn't think he could do what he did to Corey Sandhagen and how fast he did it and how great he did it. So, with that being said, I think Aljamain Sterling is going to surprise everyone and beat Petr Yan. And, man, I really hope he does, man, because I'll go back to the people that I told that said he was going to be champion. I'm going to tell them, like, hey, I told you so. So that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, me too. I'd have to lean on Aljo just because I like him a lot more than Petr Yan. But, I mean, it's going to be a damn good fight. It's going to be insane.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm super excited. I'm super pumped for that. Then also, I think one or two things will happen. Either if Petr Yan wins, it kind of stakes the claim that he's going to be the guy that holds the belt for a long time. If Aljamain Sterling wins, I feel like that fight, that belt's going to be tossed around a little bit for a little bit, especially with how stacked the division is. Especially with how stacked that division is. That anybody in the top 15 can beat each other on any given day. So this would just state the case for me. Like if Aljo wins, that belt's going to be tossed around a little bit. But if Petr Yan wins, he's going to hold it for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, the one knock on Yan, I guess, would be he really hasn't fought the upper echelon. I mean, obviously he fought Jose Aldo, Uriah Faber, Jimmy Rivera, but all those guys are kind of past the hump. Aljo's in his prime. So, I mean, who knows how it goes, but I'm hoping Aljo pulls it out.
Yeah, that's exactly why I say that. Like that's exactly why I say that. If he gets past Aljamain, and honestly, if he makes it look easy, he's keeping the belt for a long time. Because Aljamain Sterling is not no punk, and I want him to win. But if let's just say if Petr Yan goes out there and does what he does and just starches Aljamain, he's holding that belt for a very long time. But on the other hand, if Aljamain Sterling goes out there and beats Petr Yan and he beats him in a fight, like they used to say he goes 5 rounds, I think that belt's going to be tossed around because a lot of those guys in the top 5 can easily take that belt on any given day. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to it because it kind of reshapes the division. It'd be a good one, man. It'd be a really, really good one to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to let you go, but again, thank you so much for doing this. Super excited for your fight. Good luck. Go knock that fool out.
Thank you, bro. Yo, will do, man.
All right. Peace out.